Alright guys, welcome to part 5 of the 2001 CR250 build. Today we're going to be powder coating some parts off this, and I'm not finished with the cleaning process yet. I still have to do the shock, the carburetor, and the wheels, and a couple of other little things like bolts and stuff, but as I said in the last video, I'm waiting on an ultrasonic cleaner to come in from Amazon, and we're going to try it out with the carburetor and the bolts. And I'm also waiting on the red powder for powder coat to do the shock. I'm going to do the shock all at once, clean it up, and powder coat the shock spring instead of like doing it all in like sections. So we'll start today with sandblasting all these parts. I have the foot pegs here, the foot peg mounts, and the chain guide bracket. And I also have the chain guide soaking in simple green, so I can clean that. But as most of you know, if you don't, no big deal. The powder coating process, it starts with sandblasting over here. So I have my sandblaster. It's got a lighting system and a dust collection system and everything. It's just a cheap unit from Harbor Freight. So we're just going to sandblast it, and then we're going to set up the powder coating gun and set up all the stuff for powder coating. And it's almost going to be not a tutorial, but I'm going to show you guys a couple little things that I do to make the powder coat look better in the end and make the process easier and whatnot and everything. So I guess let's just get into it. Let's start sandblasting. So for those of you who don't know, the powder coating process starts with cleaning the parts. And the best way to clean the parts is with a blast cabinet or some sort of a sandblaster. What it will do is it will take and remove all the dirt and grease and grime and any like foreign material or like anything of that matter to make, and also it'll also put a texture on it to make the powder will then stick to it. So as you can see here, there's just a bunch of dirt and crap on everything here. So then, like I said, what it will do is it'll remove all that and make it, you know, perfect, like a perfect surface for it to adhere to. And then what you do is you take an oven, like that one under there. I have a toaster oven, and then you bake it for half an hour. And it'll like take any of the rest of the impurities off the surface, and then obviously powder coat it. So as far as the sandblaster goes, like I said, it's just a cheap little Harbor Freight one. It's not anything super expensive or whatnot. And then for lighting, I just have actual like light bulbs and everything hooked up. That's really complicated and stuff, but then for dust collection, I just have a tube running out of the dust collection port going to down here, which is a bucket, which I made into a dust cyclone. So what it does is dirty air goes through this tube and goes in there and gets spun around like that with the shop vac right here pulling air up, so then it'll spin it and it'll just fall to the bottom of the bucket. And this bucket's pretty heavy because there's actually a bunch of media down in there. But that's for dust collection. So you have dust collection, lighting, and an air hookup, which is actually one of the big black hose back there, and it runs across my bench, down here, to another orange air hose down there, and then obviously to the air compressor. Alright guys, so there's a couple latches on the front of this unit here, and this door opens, so then you can stick your parts in, and it doesn't stay open, so I'm going to have to hold it open. But I have the chain guide bracket here, so I'm just going to stick that in there first. I'll do that one first, and then I'll get to the foot peg stuff. But actually, if you take a look here, you're not going to be able to see it, but I have low PSI in my air compressor, so we're going to have to charge that first, and then we can get to sandblasting. And also, guys, I did want to mention the KX is finished, so there'll be like a montage on my channel coming up pretty soon on that thing. Alright guys, so the parts are all sandblasted, and that's what they look like when they're fully done. And as I said, it cleans the surface. And then now we're going to bake them in the oven for 30 minutes at 400 degrees to burn off any other impurities that may be on the surface. And then as far as this sandblaster goes, this is one of the cheapest on the market, and I like it a lot, actually. After doing a few mods to it, it's pretty good. It's just the only thing is that, I mean, this is with any sandblaster, but it's really tedious work. You're just sitting there blasting. I didn't really time it, but maybe I'll one day time it and see how long it takes me to sandblast a part or a couple parts, or, you know. So, as I said before, we have drop cloths over here because that powder gets into everything. And then we have a system up here of 4 hooks that what you do is you hang the part from the oven rack right here, and then you take the rack and you hang it from those 4 hooks up there. So I have to get that down, and then I got to put up my sheets and everything because, as I said, the powder gets into everything. We'll also clean up this hardware, these bolts, and this stuff for the foot pegs. The chain guide stuff is already clean. So, and also when you're handling these parts, you want to use clean powder-free gloves because keep in mind there's oil and dirt on your skin, which will get into the surface on that. So for right now, we'll just put them in the oven for a preheat and set up everything for powder coating. Alright guys, so the parts are in the oven and baking, as I said, at 400 degrees for 30 minutes. And keep in mind when you take the parts out after they're done preheating, if there's oil on the surface that comes out and comes to the surface after you're done baking, you're going to have to, what I do is I re-sandblast them, and then I also bake them again, obviously. But you could also use something such as like brake cleaner or acetone, mineral spirits, something like that to clean it off and then rebake it again. So since they're baking and we gotta wait 30 minutes, as I said, we're gonna clean up the hardware over there and set up all the drapes and everything, and we'll set up the powder coating gun and get powder and everything. So let's just get to that. So to clean up this hardware, I'm gonna be using the rougher Scotch-Brite wheel on the buffer because it's quick and easy, and it'll make it shine just like it'll make these. It'll make them look exactly like that. So let's just clean up this hardware, and then we'll set up the powder coating stuff. Alright guys, so the hardware is all shined up, but man, that Scotch-Brite works magic. They're super shiny now, so now is we gotta set up everything for powder coating. We're gonna use those sheets down there. You probably can't really see them, but the sheets down there, we're gonna use them as like drapes, and I have sort of like, once I put those up, I have like kind of a little powder coating booth almost. And then we gotta set up the powder coating gun and get the powder. The powder is down there, and I have some more up there. So let's just get the drapes up, and then we'll set up the powder coating gun. Alright guys, so the booth is all set up, and you might be thinking that there's a lot of prep work involved with like powder coat and Cerakote and stuff, and like why not just like spray paint it? Well, the truth is that powder coat is way more like thicker and stronger than spray paint, where like spray paint will just like wash off if you power wash the dirt bike or something, when powder coat will stay there. And of course, I mean, if it gets hit with like a rock or something, it will like chip. But it's supposed to, instead of chip, it's supposed to bend. So it's a better coating for stuff that's going to be under high use and could get damaged. So, as I said before, this booth is all set up and the parts are still cooking. it looks like we got a little less than 10 minutes left, and then we just got to let them cool off. And I'm not sure what kind of like batches we're going to do. We're probably going to do the foot pegs together. We may do like the foot peg mounts together, and then do the chain guide separate. Or we may even do them all at the same time. Alright guys, so this is the powder coating system that I use. I don't really have much room on my bench here because of the motor, but it's just a Eastwood DIY powder coating system. So, I get everything out of the box. So I don't really have a place to store it, so I just store it in the box, but this is what the gun looks like. So this is where the powder goes, and then it's got an air hookup with this is a air filter, and it also has a regulator on here. So the regulator you have to buy separate, along with the air filter and the coupler right here. But I ended up buying that separate, and then as you can see the cup just reverse threads onto there. And then obviously you have, so the way powder coating works is the powder gets electrically charged by this emitter rod right here, and it's like super high volts. So obviously you have a plug to plug it straight into like a extension cord or just straight into the wall, and then in order to get the powder to stick to the part, you have a ground clip. So it's a little alligator clip that you're supposed to ground it directly to the part when possible. If not, you can ground it to like the rack, or you can ground it to the clips that hang the part, and then this button activates the charge, and then obviously a wire going to the gun itself. So I mean, it looks complicated. It's really not once you get into it, and then obviously air hookup as well. So what we have to do now is fill up the cup with the powder that we're going to be using, which actually I have in this bin over here. This is the powder that we're going to use. It's just like a shiny black. So we'll use that. And then I have hooks pre-made, but this wire right here, this 1.04 millimeter like safety lock wire is really good for hanging parts. And then these are just like silicone plugs if you have to like plug off threads and stuff. So we'll get this filled up with powder, and then we'll get it all set up over in the booth. Alright guys, so the powder coat gun is all set up, and the parts are hanging from the rack right here. I decided to go with doing the foot pegs and the mounts in one batch, put them in the oven, let them bake, and then do the chain guide after the fact. So all we have left to do now is plug in the gun, and I already set the pressure on the regulator and attach the ground lead to each of the parts, and alright guys, parts are all sprayed out. So now we gotta close the door and unplug the powder coat gun and plug in the oven. And I'm gonna set it at 300 degrees for 20 minutes. Alright guys, so the parts are done cooking. So now we just gotta pull them out of the oven. We gotta take them off one by one. Alright, so for first impressions, they look awesome, but the real test is when we put them back together and see it on the bike. But as of right now, they look really good. Alright, so now we're going to spray out the chain guide bracket and then pop it in the oven, and we'll finish this up. Alright guys, same process. We just sprayed it out, so now obviously close the oven door, set it 300, and we'll bake it for 20 minutes. Okay, so as far as cleanup goes, I kept this bag of powder out because the powder that's left in the cup over there in the gun can be reused, so we'll just pour it back into here, and then as you can see over here, it's all black on the floor, so we need to sweep all that up, get rid of all that, take these sheets down, put those hooks back up, and just basically put everything away and take these drop cloths down and everything, and then I'm going to blow out the garage with a leaf blower. Okay, so as far as just putting this back in, you can just dump, it's got a big enough opening, you can just dump it back in. And what I do is I wrap this bag around here so powder doesn't fly up, and I just hit it like this to get all that powder out of there. And then whatever else stays in there, we'll just blow out with the nozzle up there, the air compressor. Okay, so we got most of it out. I mean, it's still around the rim and stuff, but other than that, we can just blow that out with the air compressor. So we'll just twist this back how they had it, and fold it over, and then the company that I get my powder from, which is Prismatic Powders, they include this zip tie right here, this like resealable zip tie, so you can just reseal it every time and we can put it away. Alright, so now we gotta take down the sheets and sweep out the garage. Alright guys, so here's how the parts came out. I think they turned out really awesome. But next step is to just put them on the bike, I guess you could call it right here. And then we'll cap this video off. Alright guys, the time has come to put the foot pegs on the bike here. Looks like that will go through that one. Alright, that should be locked on there pretty good. So now we gotta figure out which foot peg goes where. Looks like that one is the correct one. So all we gotta do is put that through there and then get the spring on. Oh yeah, we have to put the spring on first. So I believe I should have the right spring. Here's that spring. So that just kind of sits in there like that. The pin in there. And then we have a washer. And we also have a cotter pin. The foot pegs on right here. And I don't know, I think they look awesome. But next is the chain guide right here. And of course, we're going to put some Loctite on all three of the bolts, so let's get to put that on the swing arm. We'll mount it to, obviously, the mounting bracket on the swing arm. So we'll slide it on, and then we'll slide the bolts in. And you're definitely going to want to use Loctite on the back bolt and these two nuts right here. Alright, so 10mm wrench and 10mm socket on the impact. Give it a little hit. Put this bolt in. Put a little Loctite on this one too. I actually had to loosen these to get that one in, so put these two again. Alright, now that's on. I think that wraps up today's video. Depending on what comes in the mail, next video is either going to be powder coating the shock spring and cleaning up the shock, or it's going to be on the ultrasonic cleaner. And it possibly could be doing the the bottom end, like clutch cover, engine Cerakote coatings, but I highly doubt that any of that is going to come in faster than the powder and the ultrasonic cleaner. So, if you enjoyed this video, it took us a little bit to make, and a lot of work with the powder coating, but it's on there now and it looks awesome. So definitely like and subscribe, share it with your friends who like dirt bikes and four-wheelers and anything of that nature. But I guess that's it for this video, so I'll see you in the next one. See you later.